From Kathmandu, the refugees are transferred to the different Tibetan settlements in Indian territory. India is without doubt the country that most helps the Tibetan cause. Of the 130,000 exiles around the world, 100,000 live in India. The dream of all of them is to go to Dharamsala, Little Lhasa, the home of His Holiness the Dalai Lama. Dharamsala is at an altitude of 1,800 meters in the foothills of the Himalayas. Until 1960, it was a peaceful mountain resort surrounded by pine trees and rhododendrons, where people led uneventful lives presided over by the perpetual snows of the mountain peaks. Traveling along the road to Dharamsala, we pass through Indian villages up to just a few kilometers before reaching the city. Then the surroundings suddenly become unmistakably Tibetan. Dharamsala is home to over 6,000 exiles, a third of the population of the town, who have come here in search of the values that have been stolen from them. They have adapted perfectly to their new home thanks to the altitude and the relative cool compared to the heat of the plain. They own the majority of hotels, restaurants, businesses, and antique shops. Different religious and ethnic groups live peacefully side by side in this small area where Buddhism is the focus of everyday life, as it was in Tibet before the Chinese aggression. At the end of July, the refugee reception center is almost full. Now is the best time to cross the mountains, and in a few weeks this room will be full to bursting point. Once they have recovered, the different bodies the Tibetan government in exile has set up in the city will take care of finding them somewhere to go. For all these people, yesterday was the happiest day of their lives because they were received by His Holiness the Dalai Lama. Some of them even dare to tell us why they escaped, knowing the danger this places their families in.
I lived with my parents in the Chamdo region. One day the government took our land from us and we were forced to move to Lhasa. My father was unable to find work, so I had to start begging. One morning, 3 soldiers came up to me and, without saying a word, beat me so badly they left me blind in one eye. From then on, my only obsession was to get out of Tibet.
90% these refugees coming from Tibet are from the villages and the nomadic area where there is no school opened by the Chinese. Chinese have not opened schools in the villages and the nomadic area because there are no Chinese. So Chinese have opened schools, hospitals only in the cities where the majority are Chinese. So these refugees, 90% are illiterate. They don't know how to read and write, even Tibetan. Forget about Chinese or English, they don't know. They have never been to school. So when they reach here, we have to start from the very beginning, A, B, C, D, you know. And even we have to teach them how to clean your face and how to keep healthy. Even they don't know this, you know, because Chinese have not taught them anything, you know. So when they reach here in the Dharamsala, they are in high spirit. They are very happy that they are now in freedom, in exile, and they can see the Dalai Lama, and they feel that their future is now bright because they can go to schools and institutions. The children can go to schools, and the monks and nuns can go to monasteries to get education. So when they arrive here, they are in high spirit. They are very happy.
The youngest are ready to be taken to the city of Tibetan children. A boarding school on the outskirts of Dharamsala, where 2,400 boys and girls between the ages of 9 months and 20 years live and study. Half of them are orphans. The school is divided into individual houses where between 30 and 40 students of all ages live, supervised by a monitor who acts as their mother. In this way, they try to create a family atmosphere with the older ones responsible for looking after and teaching the younger ones. The school was founded in 1960 by a group of nurses led by Tsering Dolma, the eldest sister of the Dalai Lama, in order to provide shelter and education for the children of the first exiles to settle in the province of Himachal Pradesh, who were then working for the Indian government, building roads in appalling conditions.
So for parents, it's a very difficult decision, but they know it is better to sort of sacrifice their children and send them into exile than keep them in Tibet. If they keep the children in Tibet, they see no future for the child. Therefore, they would rather that they do not even see, no matter how emotionally difficult it is, that they do not see, but send them into exile where His Holiness is, because in exile where His Holiness, there is hope.
I mean, Chinese officials, local officials, pressure on the, put a lot of pressure on family, so the family is compelled to bring their the children from India.
Today, 11,000 Tibetan children receive a good education in the 15 schools scattered around India. For them, a new future lies ahead, far from their country. But here they are happy. They know that the Dalai Lama protects them, and they live in the hope that one day they'll be able to return to Tibet. An hour's walk from Dharamsala stands the Adult Education Center, a very different place from the city of Tibetan children. The center was set up in order to provide a basic education for young people over 20 years old. As soon as they arrive, they are told of the reality of the situation of refugees and the difficulties in finding work in India. For 3 years, they will be given training in a profession, and the organizers running the center will try to convince them to return to Tibet and put their skills to use there. One of the Dalai Lama's greatest worries is that with the constant flow of refugees, his country will one day be entirely empty of Tibetans. Over 300 students live crammed together in old asbestos huts in far from ideal conditions. An additional problem is the mosquitoes, malaria and the unbearable summer heat, which the Tibetans are not used to, as this center is at an altitude of just 600 meters. Those students that have artistic skills are sent to the Norbolinka Institute, a traditional-style building created to conserve and spread Tibetan art and culture. The painting of Tangas is considered one of the major branches of knowledge, and its origins go back to the time of Buddha himself. The old masters gradually refined the arts through research and study of the traditions of different countries. The forms of the lines and the tools used in painting have their origins in the Indian style. The drawing of figures is based on the Nepalese style and the background scenes on the Chinese tradition. In a different room, the students learn another of their oldest traditions. Tibetan carpenters are famous for their skill with wood, and this can be seen in the magnificent altars and thrones that decorate their monasteries. The hammer of the master Choi Punsok gradually gives form to a Buddha head. All the figures made here are sent to the many centers that are being built, mainly in the United States and Europe, where the Buddhist religion is gaining many converts. The students undergo a training period of 6 years, which ensures a good future for them. They are the refugees with the best prospects of finding work.